I'm Dr. Bojack from Landon Chiropractic, your posture doctor. And today we're going to talk about shoveling. So shoveling might be a pain in the butt, but it's really a pain in the back. Okay? So we've gotten some storms here and we've done a little calculation. So if we get 6 inches of snow during the course of a day, okay, and you have an average double driveway, you're going to be shoveling anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 pounds of snow, right? Depending on how wet it is. And that's going to be a real irritation for that back, particularly that low back. So we want to consider some tips in order to make that job easier and not such a pain in the butt. Shoveling snow, right, remains a cause of frequent back injuries. But it's not only associated with back injuries, it can affect the cardiovascular system, right? The pumper muscle. Okay? Now, especially with this coronavirus and our mask. Well, when you're wearing that mask and you're doing some heavy shoveling, especially if the snow's wet, okay, you're not going to ventilate yourself wearing that mask, especially if you start to perspire and that mask starts to get moist, and you got to breathe not only through the mask but through dampness and moisture on that cloth. Is just going to precipitate into more irritations for you. So my suggestion, when you are shoveling and you are starting to work hard because that snow is heavy and you've been doing it for a period of time and you're starting to breathe harder, lower your mask so you can get some fresh air and you can get some exchange of that fresh air to get the oxygen and to ventilate your lungs. And with ventilating your lungs, it'll refresh, okay, and reestablish oxygenation to your musculature so that you're not going to get short of breath and you're not going to get weak and you're not going to get tired as a consequence. My personal suggestion. And, right, if you do start getting shortness of breath, if you do start feeling palpitations, if you are starting to breathe hard, please stop. Right? Common sense. Just take a breath. Right? So if you don't get done in an hour and you get done in an hour and a half, no biggie. Maybe your coffee might be a little cool, right? Or your hot chocolate isn't, melting the marshmallows when you get to it, okay? But I think you'll find that it's beneficial for your health, okay? Again, just common sense. So just be aware of that while you are shoveling, especially in New England when we get this wet snow, and that wet snow tends to be heavy. Just a personal thought. Snow shoveling can be compared to weightlifting, and in some aspects, similar to the aerobic aspects anyways, similar to working out on a treadmill, okay? So for your body to work at that demand, okay, let's go over the following tips. Be heart smart, right? So don't eat or smoke before you shovel, okay? Particularly, don't consume any caffeine liquids, such as coffee, or such as even tea's got some caffeine in it, right? Because what it does is constrict those arterioles, and that's going to make it even more challenging for you to contract those muscles in order to move that snow. Okay? Secondly, right, if you experience any kind of pain, stop. Okay? Number one, you just might be overworking a muscle that you never worked before or haven't worked in a long period of time, right? So just flexing that shoveling and flexing those arms might irritate those bicipital muscles, right? Just because you haven't been working them, or your tricep muscles. So stop, give yourself a breath. Take a couple deep, full breaths, pull your mask down, and then resume. So don't push yourself past some pain threshold, okay? This isn't a race. Thirdly, pace yourself, right? Shoveling is a strenuous exercise. Like I said, it's almost like a workout. So take a break, right? Take some breaths, okay? And again, you can resume your actual shoveling. And during those breaks, make sure you what? Suck down some water, right? Rehydrate yourself because you're actually doing that strenuous exercise and you're contracting those muscles as a consequence to that, okay? So make sure you're rehydrating yourself. Okay, and fourthly, right, if there's slippery turf that you're standing on, if it's ice, if it's packed snow and it's slippery, lay down some ice so you can get, lay down some ice. How about that one? Lay down some salt, right, or chip that snow away so you actually have some kind of pavement that you're standing on to grasp on so you can get some solid footing, right, so you're not sliding and slipping while you're shoveling. Again, all common sense. Shovels, right? So your tool that you're using, we can go through that, right? So there's ergonomic shovels, right? So there's the handle, but there's a ergonomic, right? They give you that loop a little bit so it dissipates that pressure or the weight of the snow. So you can get the ergonomic handle, right? Secondly, the blade, right? So I get a plastic blade. Right? You can get metal blades. I recommend the plastic blade because here in New England we get a lot of wet snow. So you put the wet snow with a steel shovel and the weight of the steel plus the heavy snow, ouch, right? I mean, you're starting to work there pretty hard. Okay? So my suggestion is you get a plastic shovel with a plastic scoop, right? And I might recommend, right, getting a metal strip here because it scoops and digs into that snow a little bit better, especially if you get some ice. So this steel blade in the front works out really well. Okay? So, don't get a huge shovel, right? The huger the shovel, the more snow, the more weight, and the more awkward it's going to be for you to balance that as a consequence to that. So in regards to that, right, so a shovel, a smaller shovel, better than a big shovel because the smaller shovel, yeah, maybe you're going to shovel a little bit more. It takes a little more fillings of this shovel versus a bigger shovel, but you can control the load that much better as a consequence to that, okay? So, and then last but not least, it depends what you're going to do with that snow, right? Are you going to push it or are you going to throw it? So if you're going to push it, yeah, go ahead. Get a bigger blade. The blade's on the ground. You're pushing the snow versus picking up the snow. Although if you're going to pick the snow up, like I said, stick with plastic versus steel. Stick with a smaller actual scoop. So the action of shoveling. So first, you might want to consider warming up a little bit, right? Versus going out there cold and stale and tight. Okay, so my suggestion is you do our spinal twists. You can get those on our YouTube. Oh, by the way, I love doing these videos. I'd really appreciate whoever's watching it to subscribe. Okay, give me a little love back. Okay, especially it's Valentine's Day, right? So again, I'm thanking you in advance for subscribing to my YouTube channel. Okay, so warm up. Do your spinal twist. That'll get their back muscles moving, get them stretched out, get them pliable a little bit before you go out there and start shoveling, okay? So as far as placement, hand placement, right? Obviously, if you're putting your hands close together and you got all this weight, that's not a good place for you to place your hands. Spread them out. The more you spread out, the more you got the weight in the shovel, the more the actual weight's going to be dissipated in regards to that actual handle. Right? Just makes common sense. Okay? Good posture, right? So the more you stand upright, that's much better, right? And here's the biggest peeve, right? Or the biggest point about shoveling. Shovel from your legs, not from your upper torso, and certainly not from your arms. Okay? So don't do everything with your arms. And how to prevent that is, if you're constantly reaching, right? You're constantly reaching out. That goes with anything, just like picking things up, right? Bring your body close to whatever you're picking up. So if you got a pile of snow here, you walk to the pile of snow, right? Get as close to it as possible, then start shoveling. So you're not extended, right? And bend your legs, regardless how much snow you got or don't have, right? Sometimes that, especially the wet snow, you pick it up and it shifts. And when it shifts and you're extended, that's where you're screwed, right? You're extended, your torso's out in front of you, and everything's on your low back, and the weakest portions of our spine is L4, L5 in the pelvis. So that's where you're putting all that tension and stress. Shifts a little bit, that's all you need. Boom. You got aggravation pain in there. Okay? Get close to the actual weight. And the closer you are to the weight, the better off you're going to be as a consequence to that. Okay? And then, like you say, right? Little shovelfuls versus big shovelfuls. Right? In the long run, you're going to save yourself irritation and pain. Maybe it'll take you longer, but it's a better way of doing what you need to do as a consequence to that. Okay, so as far as snow throwing, right? So you don't throw the snow over your shoulder, because what are you doing? You're creating leverage, right? You don't want to create leverage. Throw it in front of you, a short little thrust, okay, is much more beneficial. And walk to where you're throwing it to, okay, versus trying to shovel it and swing it. That's where you're going to get in trouble, okay? Secondly, obviously, right, the quicker you get to the snow, the better off you're going to be. If it snows and you're out there quick, it's fresh. And if it's fresh, then it's a lot lighter, as opposed to it starts sitting there for a while, it gets wet, and it starts to get icy. It becomes more of a problem to move as a consequence to that, right? Thirdly, pace yourself, right? This isn't a race, right? There's not a snow shoveling, what do they call it, Indianapolis 500? One of those guys who starts the races and stops the races. So there's not one of those guys. This is no race, right? Take your time, pace yourself, take a break. Take some deep breaths, relax, and then do a little bit more, and then do a little bit more. But again, right, it's getting to the end of the race, not how fast you get to the end of the race or at the end of the snow, okay? So make it a little bit of fun, right, versus just an aggravation for yourself. Okay, in conclusion, right, if in fact you do get back irritation, most back problems start out small and become progressively more irritating and worse, right? And most people sit on it until it becomes a problem so that they can't move, okay? So my suggestion to you is, if in fact you're getting irritation, okay, or stiffness or tightness, you go to our YouTube channel and go, which is Atlantic Chiropractic, and check out our spinal twists. Start doing those spinal twists. Start doing them nice and slow, nice and easy. And even if you do them a little partially, right? And then once you start feeling some movement and you stretch out those muscles, then you can start doing a full range of motion. That should alleviate, okay, tightness or tenderness that you might have, right? Epsom salt's really good in regards to some tension or tightness, right? I'm not too fond of the heat. I'm more into the cool, the actual ice, because my premise is if it starts becoming a real irritation, then it's into the joint. And if it's into the joint, heat's not going to address it, okay? But again, in most instances, if it persists, right, a week, then it's 2 weeks. Then it's a month. Then it's 6 to 8 weeks. Now it's 2 months, right? As any health situation. When it starts extending over a month to 2 months and gets after that 60-day mark, the 90-day mark, something's up, something's irritated. My suggestion is you get in and let us check you out. But again, you get in and let somebody check you out, because it's an irritation. And it's going to debilitate you as a consequence to that. Okay? We'd love to see you. We'd love to check you out. Okay? If you're watching this video and you have an irritation, okay, if you call us within a week period of time, we'll give you an offer for $79. Our workups usually in the beginning are $295. Okay, so we're giving you a deal here if you mention this video and you come in within a week of this video. And we'd be more than happy to check you out. That's going to include a consultation, an exam, ranges of motion, a postural screening, and even x-rays. Okay, and I'll bring it to the point where we can show you what's going on and actually express to you an individualized, personalized, specific plan on how to address it. Okay? Thanks so much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for giving us your full attention, and have a Titanic Thursday. Look forward to seeing you. Have a great day.